Hello and good day, my friends. My name is Gentleman Hunter, and welcome back to the Premier Draft League Doubles Division. In today's video, I will be breaking down the team I have chosen for this season's of battles. I will like to note that my Pokemon have all been nicknamed. I will not be going into great detail as to the nicknames I've given them, so if you have any questions on them or any thoughts on them, feel free to leave them in the comments. And I will be going through my picks in the order that I had drafted them, just for those who may be curious as to why they're ordered in the way they are. And to start us off with the very first pick, I picked Rillaboom, with fantastic HP and attack and defensive stats, decent speed and special defense, and I wouldn't really do anything special attack-wise. But its ability Grassy Surge and also the ability to get Grassy Glide as an attack just makes it an all-around beast to deal with and try to work around. So I'm excited to reuse this guy once again. I had him last season, and there will be a couple other Pokemon I've used in this draft league from previous seasons as well. And speaking of that, my next pick, which is another returning member, is Clefable. A fantastic doublesmon. Between Follow Me and also being a cleric and also some pretty decent stats for special attack and even HP and special defense, I can still use it offensively if need be. It usually gets ran defensively from just the history of the Pokemon, but I'm excited to see what it will do this season for me. And moving right along into my third pick, it is Hawlucha, which is a fantastic Pokemon to pair with Rillaboom. It has the ability Unburden, which means when an item is used, or its held item is used, it gets its speed doubled. The reason why it's great to be paired with Rillaboom is because there's an item called the Grassy Seed, which will give you a +1 defense when you're standing on grassy terrain. And once the item is used, its amazing 118 base speed, it's doubled. So you're running around there with a really fast Pokemon with some great attack stats, and even better coverage moves, and also fantastic stab moves as well. It's just an overall great Pokemon, and I'm so excited to try using it this season. I thought about it last season, but decided against it, but I'm glad I get to try it this season. For my next pick, I have my last returning Pokemon on the team. I didn't have Jolteon last season, but I used him the season before. Fantastic fast electric type with a Volt Absorb, so it can help me out in some sticky situations if there's another electric type on the field. Outside of that, it has an amazing speed, even oh my goodness, even more amazing special attack and special defensive stats. I say more amazing, but the way it's usually built, it usually just gets a bunch of special attacks bonuses and stats, because amazing Volt Switch and Thunder plays and Thunderbolts, and even Discharge if I'm ever feeling cheeky and hoping I don't paralyze my own teammate. Or if I have a ground type, which I may or may not have, that you will see later on. For my next pick, I picked up Zoroark, and I am so excited to use this. I could not tell you how excited I am to use Zoroark. Its entire gimmick is mind games. Its ability Illusion will change it will change its appearance in battle to look like the last Pokemon you have in your party. So let's say I have Clefable in the very back of my party, and I send this out. My opponent will think it's Clefable and react accordingly. What I love about Zoroark is that it has some fantastic coverage moves. A lot of coverage moves that a lot of my other Pokemon happen to know and happen to have. Moves like Flamethrower, which also Clefable gets. So it may throw a few people off as to why the flamethrower suddenly did a lot more damage than they thought it should have from a Clefable, or even why it moved faster than other Pokemon. So I'm excited to see what crazy things I can do with this Pokemon and what crazy stunts I can pull. For my next pick, I chose Cinccino. Cinccino alone just has crazy abilities, which is why it is so sought after a large part of the time, or such a great Pokemon to use in draft leagues or any battles whatsoever. The ability Skill Link alone is great. Being able to use multi-hit moves and have them hit 5 times, period. Otherwise, the ability Technician was also a fantastic one. Boosts any weaker attacks, so anything 60 base power or lower gets an extra boost. Or if I ever feel cheeky and want to be cute, I can use Cute Charm as the ability. Prevent my opponents from doing anything, I can get it to activate on them. Otherwise, it's also got some fantastic coverage moves, and I'm really excited to see what I can do with this. My next pick is my Gigantamax pick. Just as a note, everyone was able to pick up a Gigantamax Pokemon of their own. I chose Gigantamax Gengar because I've always wanted to use Gengar in just any real battling sense. And it's great to have the evolution of my mascot Pokemon, so I think that's also pretty great. But its amazing special attack stat and speed is what's really going to be coming in handy. It also gets some pretty good coverage moves and also status moves like a Will-O-Wisp, so we'll see if I always use it so offensively or if I try using it more defensively from time to time. Otherwise, it's G-Max Attack, G-Max Terror is fantastic and will trap opponents in who are standing in the shadow, so it's essentially a shadow tag in an attack. So my opponents always have to be a little extra careful as to what they have out on the field when I have my Gengar out. Because they might be stuck there for the rest of the battle, or at least until Gengar gets knocked out. For my very next pick, I picked up Sandaconda, a fantastic ground type, the very thing I was kind of hinting toward with the Jolteon with using Discharge. Outside of that, it has a fantastic defense and attack stat, and some decent HP to boot. It's got some great coverage moves and some pretty good setup too, actually. I'm excited to try to make this little guy work and see what crazy shenanigans I can pull off with it. For my next pick, I picked up Magmar, a fantastic middle stage evolution that wasn't originally middle stage. The fact that it got an evolution just made this Pokemon 100 times better because it gets access to Eviolite, which boosts its defenses and special defenses. And it's such a great Pokemon, I don't always have to run Eviolite as well. If I want to run Choice Specs, or even Choice Scarf, or even Choice Band, just for that massive power boost, it won't be detrimented so much because of poor defensive stats or anything like that. Yes, it's still not exactly the strongest, but it's also not the weakest either. And I'm excited to see what crazy burns I can pull off with its attacks, or even use some of the coverage moves it has as well. For my next pick, I picked Metang, another fantastic Eviolite user, especially with its crazy high defenses of 100 defense and 80 special defense. So tack on some extra defense on that, and it's going to be real tank to deal with. Yes, it's on the slower side, and that'll be fine. But it's got a great attack stat, and also gains access to moves like Bullet Punch and other priority, and just Steel and Psychic type attacks, which are fantastic to have, especially for any pesky fairy types that might be running around. Then my next pick was Pinsir, At this point, I was kind of looking at my team and seeing a small bit of a ground type weakness, and I just was trying to think of a great way to get that covered. Then I saw Pinsir sitting here. I'm like, oh, Pinsir's a great Pokemon. And if anything, it'll just be another slot I can fill, and I can figure out the ground weakness later. I completely forgot at the time until just before picking it that bug types resist ground types, which knocks out one of my issues I was trying to plan for and figure out to begin with. So that just made picking Pinsir all the better for me, especially with its incredibly high attack stat and fantastic defense stat. And decent speed too, to be perfectly fair. It's got some great attacks and great coverage moves, and I'm really excited to see what kind of crazy sweeps I might be able to do, or crazy sweeps I can even probably prevent with this little guy. And then next is my very final pick of the draft. And I made mention earlier that everyone was allowed to pick one Gigantamax Pokemon, while we were also able to pick what was considered one restricted Pokemon, so Legendary, Ultra Beast, Mythical, whatever people saw fit in that portion of the draft. Well, I'm sure you've noticed by this point that I have not picked up a Legendary. Well, that's exactly what I picked up for my very last pick. My very last pick and my Legendary pick was Palkia. Look at that. Look at those crazy stats. I mean, yes, it's a legendary Pokemon with legendary Pokemon stats, but 150 base special attack? That's crazy. Like, if I want to, I can also have a physical attacker with 120 base attack. But it's going to be really difficult for my opponents to find a way to defeat a water dragon type who only has 2 types of weaknesses, and one that's so crazy defensive to boot. It's also got plenty of great coverage moves, and its stab moves are fantastic too. It's hard to beat stab water type and stab dragon type attacks. So it's going to be a real force to be reckoned with. Well, that brings us to the very end of my team. What are your thoughts on the team I've drafted for this season? What what changes would you have made? What Pokemon do you think will what Pokemon do you think will do great, and which others do you think will kind of be left in the dark and barely ever used? And did you have any questions about the nicknames? Feel free to leave your comments, and also feel free to subscribe and follow me for my future battles. I will not be battling in the first week of the draft league. I have a bye week that week, so my very first video will be titled Week 2, just as a fair warning to you all. But otherwise, like I said, leave your comments and leave your questions, and I will be happy to answer everything I can for you. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.